Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're taking a pretty fascinating journey, one that stretches all the way from prehistoric cave life straight to the modern connectivity humming in your pocket and, pinging on your work laptop right this second. If you've ever wondered why a sudden Slack message from your boss gets your heart absolutely racing, or why dealing with a late-night professional email leaves you just completely exhausted, well, you're definitely not alone. We're going to look at this through the lens of workplace psychology today. Because, as it turns out, the root of our modern digital stress isn't some lack of willpower. It's actually biology. So let's dive right in and uncover a practical guide to managing this deep evolutionary conflict that's happening right inside our own heads during the workday. Right off the bat, I want you to consider this incredibly stark reality. The human brain was never built for the internet. It's such a simple sentence, right? But it explains so much of our daily professional grind. We constantly blame ourselves for feeling overwhelmed by our digital tools, but what we're really experiencing is a profound biological mismatch. And keep in mind, the internet doesn't just mean social media. It's our entire modern, always-on digital office environment. We're trying to navigate this hyper-connected, high-speed professional universe using a piece of hardware, our brain, that was optimized for a completely different world. Honestly, that's exactly why an 8-hour day just staring at a computer screen can leave us feeling like we've been running from actual predators.
All right, let's look at section 1, the survival instinct and our ancient programming.
So human beings evolved in small tribes. For thousands of years, staying in your tiny group wasn't just a social preference. It was a literal matter of life and death. If you belonged, you survived. If your tribe rejected you, you were cast out into a hostile environment and, well, you died. Because the stakes were absolute, our brains developed these incredibly powerful, high-stakes instincts to make sure we stayed accepted by the group. And here's the kicker, our brains view our modern office teams through this exact same primal lens. That ancient programming is still entirely active today. It's exactly why being left off a meeting invite or getting some terse professional feedback triggers that same ancient rejection equals death panic deep inside us. Which brings us to section 2, a giant emotional tribe made up of millions of strangers. When we put our past and present environments side by side, this biological mismatch becomes incredibly clear. On one hand, we have the ancient tribe, these small, tight-knit groups where every single relationship was essential for survival. On the other hand, we have the digital tribe, which heavily encompasses our whole professional sphere. Our modern digital environments totally hijack our ancient programming by suddenly plugging us into this massive, unnatural network. I mean, we're taking instincts designed to manage relationships with maybe a few dozen people and forcing them to process the opinions, demands, and behaviors of hundreds of clients, cross-departmental colleagues, and just an endless stream of LinkedIn updates. The sheer volume of professional strangers causes massive cognitive and emotional overload during our workday.
And this introduces the concept of the emotional tribe. It's this pretty dangerous modern phenomenon where digital platforms basically turn huge numbers of disparate strangers into a single group that continually triggers our primal survival instincts. The primitive parts of our brains simply cannot distinguish between types of threats. To your amygdala, which is basically the alarm bell of your brain, a passive-aggressive email from a coworker or a sudden "we need to talk" message from management triggers the exact same physiological stress response as a prehistoric predator. Your amygdala actually hijacks your prefrontal cortex. Your heart rate shoots up, you get a massive cortisol spike, your body's literally reacting as if your survival is at stake, right there at your office desk.
Let's move to section 3, the outrage algorithm, and how platforms are maximizing our attention. You see, digital platforms reward certain types of content, and it all comes down to the varying speeds of human emotion. Calm, rational thinking, well, that spreads slowly. But anger spreads instantly. And fear spreads even faster. Because our brains are hardwired to prioritize threats to our survival, we react to anger and fear with intense, immediate focus. Just think about how this affects office communication for a second. It perfectly explains why panicked rumors about layoffs or really frustrating client feedback will spread through office channels like wildfire, while calm, rational project updates are, well, they're often completely ignored. Our brains naturally prioritize these professional threats. Let's walk through how this builds into the systems we use every single day. Step 1. Platforms recognize that outrage and urgency keep people engaged. Step 2. Tech companies intentionally design their systems to maximize user attention because, obviously, attention equals revenue. And step 3, as a direct result, these algorithms actively deprioritize calm discussion in favor of intense, primal emotion. So as working professionals, how do we actually mitigate this? Well, we have to proactively create calm digital environments at work. You can break this attention depleting cycle during focus hours by doing things like turning off non essential notifications, setting specific times to batch check your emails, and purposefully stepping away from the artificial urgency of constant, nonstop pings. The absolute crucial point here comes down to a stark, simple equation: anger equals engagement. This formula is literally the engine running the platforms we spend hours on every single day. The technology is deliberately built to capitalize on our fastest spreading primal emotions, because that is what captures the ancient tribal programming in our brains. In the workplace, this directly fuels the toxic culture of instant replies. When an email sparks a flash of frustration or anxiety, our instinct is to fire back immediately. But reacting emotionally to a frustrating thread, actually, scratch that. Reacting immediately almost always feels workplace stress rather than actually solving the problem at hand.
Which brings us to our final thought. We've seen the evolutionary mismatch, right? We've seen how our digital workspaces exploit our biological need to survive in the tribe. So, the question I want to leave you with today is this: are your digital work tools actually serving your productivity? Or are they constantly triggering your survival instincts? Knowing your brain wasn't built for this, are you controlling your screen, or are ancient instincts controlling you? I really want to challenge you and your office teams to use these insights to build healthier online boundaries, set clear communication norms, and take back control of your digital well-being. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and hey, here's to a healthier workday.